Welkom bij een nieuwe aflevering van de Nederlandse Kubernetes podcast. De podcast over Kubernetes voor iedereen.
Ook voor mij?
Ook voor jou, zeker weten.
Ja. Mooi.
Ik ben Ronald Kers en dit is natuurlijk...
Jan Stomphorst, Solution Architect aan CCT.
Ja,
En nog.
maar we hebben tegenwoordig steeds meer over ook andere dingen naast Kubernetes. Hè? Dus,
Oh ja?
Ja.
Zoals?
Ja, van je apropos gebracht.
Ja.
Het gaat niet over...
Zoals?
bijvoorbeeld over Chainguard vandaag. Dus,
Oh ja.
Maar daar gaat onze gast alles over vertellen.
Ik ben geïnteresseerd.
Jij bent geïnteresseerd? Nou, dat is heel belangrijk. So I will switch to English. And I would like to introduce Hannah Hawken. Welcome.
From London.
A pleasure to meet you. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be speaking in English.
We'll do our best.
We do our best, yeah. And Hannah, can you please introduce yourself to our listeners?
Yeah, of course. So I work as a partner sales engineer at Chainguard. I've been with the company now for about 5 months, so coming on like a sixth of the company's lifetime. I'm based in London. I do speak French, Spanish, and Italian. Sorry, they're not of use today. They're pretty useful for my role, which currently covers EMEA. I'm the first partner solutions engineer at Chainguard. So really, really happy to be connecting with you here in Amsterdam.
Oh, well, pleasure to meet you. It's
We're
mutual.
On which event are we this time?
We're at the HOPE, the HES open source
Yeah,
platform. Yeah, and then?
No.
Experience.
Experience, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an
HES Open Platform Experience 2025 in the lovely Amsterdam.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
just as a plug to HES and our friend Marcel. Hannah, how did you get started in the IT? What's your background?
Really interesting one. So I have come full circle, really. I, a few months ago, was working at Wiz for a couple of years, same role, building up our infrastructure of partners from a technical perspective across EMEA. So that was very much focused on cloud security, Wiz being the leading CNAP, just bought by Google, as I'm sure people are aware. Before that, I was working at Darktrace, which covers every part of the infrastructure. It's a total digital estate solution. But my first role out of university was a full stack developer for a health tech startup during the COVID pandemic. So we were putting all of the appointments and insurance claims onto an app. It was about 10 strong developers. So me coming to Chainguard now with this push to start security left really brings me back to the mental space I was in when I was developing code but not understanding anything about security. So those years in between have helped me appreciate why we need to build in a secure way, because I've been focused on preventing, detecting, validating, remediating, and now I believe there's a better way to pull down images, VMs, now we have libraries as well, from a safe, secure source and innovate building applications, infrastructure, the best way from the start.
Yeah, but you always was interested when you were a little girl, wanted to work in the IT?
No.
Or
Oh my gosh, if you really want to go way back, I was really keen on being a marine biologist when
wow.
I was a little
Cool.
girl. I grew up in Singapore, so was obsessed with wildlife in the ocean. I'm a big swimmer and have always been a competitive swimmer, so getting into the ocean and swimming was key for me. I then, when I was at school, was really driven to be an international arbitrator because I wanted to be able to speak multiple languages when I did my job and work cross-border. I love that cultural interaction, sharing knowledge from different countries. And really, I've found my sweet spot in the world of work we're in now, where I can use my languages, work with different people like yourself, so I wouldn't meet if I were not in a job that enabled knowledge sharing cross-border. But I pivoted away from law mainly because there was a bit of a lack of creativity. It's kind of following the old ways of how things have been done, not...
there's a book with rules and you have to follow it, right?
Yes, exactly. And I realized that in my training. And I think that's what's so interesting about technology. We'll talk about some of the ways in which we can constantly be thinking about how we can do things better or revolutionize and really change the way that we're working. Whereas I think that's contrary to what law stands for.
Yeah. People in technology often throw the rule book out of the window
Yeah.
and then just start completely over
Exactly.
Yeah, did you read the manual? It's also
No.
like I think there are rules, but do we follow them, right?
Yep, for sure. For sure.
So you have a talk here, solving the open source problem with end-to-end together.
Yeah.
And can you explain to us what the talk is about, and also include what is Chainguard?
Of course, my favorite subject. So we could start with what is Chainguard, because that will help us understand the talk a little bit better. I tried to make the talk as focused on the philosophy behind why Chainguard exists. We want to serve the open source community as much as possible. That's why actually if any listener wants to go and use Chainguard, there are 55 of our 1,800 or so images available to pull down from our Chainguard website. We are on a mission to be the safe source and the best source for open source. Most of the audience absolutely loved it in the talk when I shared what our founder and CEO, who actually created SigStore, told us a couple of weeks ago. He said, I really want Chainguard to be the Disneyland for developers, the place where they want to go and they want to
Interesting philosophy, right?
They want to go and, find their code and their images and the really safe, easy way to adopt images, VMs, libraries from the Chainguard repository. So we're not a SaaS, we're just a repo. Instead of going to, say, Docker Hub, you would go to Chainguard, pull down an image, and start building in a much faster, secure way. So my talk really covered the reason why we exist, some of the open source security issues. We've seen such a rise in attacks. I don't follow the news in Amsterdam as closely as I obviously experience what happens and what we see in the news in the UK, but we have major supermarket outages like Marks and Spencer's, Harrods, which is a luxury brand, all out of business for several days a couple of months ago. And I believe that the total sum came to the millions from a cybersecurity attack. If they'd had Chainguard, I would have argued that they wouldn't have had any of the CVEs, because we maintain a zero CVE security posture. The security teams would have therefore been able to focus on better architecting or running checks on data exfiltration or new actors in the environment, locking down open ports, if they hadn't maybe been focused on removing so many CVEs, because we see customers with CVEs in the thousands. And if you look at the comparison between pulling down a Chainguard image with 0 CVEs to inheriting one image with on average 150 CVEs, scale that up, you're soon in the thousands, and that toil that comes with it.
Yeah, for the listeners that are not familiar with the term CVE, I don't think there's a lot, but can you explain a little bit what the CVE is?
So CVEs are common vulnerability exploits. So what they really mean, they're graded in a few categories. We have critical CVEs. Let's just keep using the abbreviation if you don't mind, so it's a long-winded term otherwise. Those critical CVEs are more likely, the probability and the damage of an attack and a compromise to an organization is greater. High goes down one level, then medium and low. So those are the types of CVEs you can get, and I believe that's based on the severity of the compromise and as I've said, how likely that is to affect an organization.
Okay.
So if I break it down really easy, you're serving just images.
No, we have just images. Yes, container images is the core of the offering.
Yeah.
However, about a month ago, we released Chainguard libraries. So that's for malware prevention. We're starting CVE remediation for libraries.
Okay,
So
cool.
in JavaScript and Python, and Java's coming. So really exciting space, because we know how opaque the provenance is and how the scale of opaque clarity around, or lack of clarity around, how many compromises there could be in a library that you would inherit and all the dependencies. And then in January, very, very excited to be releasing VMs. So the same functionality of Chainguard, but extended to virtual machines and their hosts, so that we would rebuild them from source. So you're inheriting that in a really secure posture when it's virtual.
Okay. just going back for the images here first, because that's an offering that's on the table. That's working already. So you've got like, what do I get when I get your offering, or what do I get if I get Chainguard? Do I get a repository full with images that I can use?
A really great question. I'll make it as simple as possible. Our customers, they will either have access, and it's a license based on tiers of developer accounts using the images, and then whether they want to have access to the whole catalog of 1,800 images, so access to that full repository, or just one or two. And once they've got that, they get access and are entitled to this 7-day SLA. So that means that Chainguard is responsible for patching any of those CVEs within 7 days if it's critical. So the responsibility of security is on our shoulders, not theirs. And they also get a maintained zero CVE posture. So better for them to be able to meet compliance. Also no focus on needing to patch CVEs anymore. We have a calculator on the website which will be able to help customers reach an estimation of how many hours and the money that they're wasting diverted from revenue in terms of development, expanding their Kubernetes footprint as well, into just going back and thinking of the past and how can I patch this CVE. That's what I'm really passionate about as well, because I've worked for so long with other solutions which would look at when the problem is already in production, and we don't want that.
Now, and you said 1,800 images.
Yeah.
What kind of images are there?
Oh, great question. So there are 4 flavors. There's a base image, an application image, drop-in replacement for an app. So for the base images, I'm thinking things like Python application images. We've got Cassandra is one I know off the top of my head, Postgres. There are FIPS images. Those are cryptographically signed, so they're FedRAMP compliant, which is very US-centric, but for any listeners
FedRAMP compliant?
FedRAMP is one of the compliance standards in the US.
Like federal, I think.
Federal, right? Yeah, it's from the federal government, exactly.
Okay.
And the final one is AI images. So they are not CPU, they're GPU images to support machine learning workloads. Really interesting that we've just had a recent customer in the UK that's adopted them to accelerate their AI build, basically.
Okay.
So your competitor is then Docker Hub, Bitnami.
Yeah, interesting one though. I'd love to be able to share with you quickly a differentiator on Chainguard. I said at the start, we're really keen to serve the open source security community as much as possible. Obviously, the business has to charge for some things to make it
of course,
a business. But we, unlike Bitnami, we don't exhibit the vendor lock-in. So once you pull down a Chainguard image, say you want to end your license and subscription in a year, whatever image you've pulled down, the last one before then, that's still yours and your infrastructure is running on that. Whereas I believe it's invalid if you are with Bitnami. They all go behind a paywall. So we don't have that same vendor lock-in.
You still can download that image then. For example, I'm downloading Ubuntu, latest Ubuntu, and we'll stopping your service. I can download that
up until the end of your license agreement, but you could download it all. Then if you decide for business motives that you don't want Chainguard anymore, maybe I'm not sure what the reasons would be, but you could make sure that the point you got to while you're a paying customer, you're not rescinding on that. We're not taking you back from that. You've still benefited and will continue to benefit from what you set up for your solid, safe infrastructure and the foundations there.
Okay, and do you what do you advise customers to pull that image from you to their own repository, or always pulling from your repositories?
We can set up automations so that it's synced to their own repository if they need, because obviously our images are rebuilt every 24 hours upstream from the source code to make sure that when we're rebuilding them, when we're shrinking the attack surface by taking out any unnecessary packages or dependencies. And I would recommend that anyone who uses a Chainguard image, and this is the value of paying rather than just using the free ones, always gets the latest version, and they might choose to use what's called custom assembly. to customize that image and fit it really succinctly into their workflow so that they're always pulling down the latest version whenever there's a new build triggered, basically.
Okay. So you talked about the Harriet's outage, right? That you would have recommended. You made the statement of the point that if they had Chainguard, they wouldn't have like the problems they had. Well, if like a company like Harriet or any other company comes to you, how does the process look like to implement like a Chainguard in practice?
Do you know what? We're a young company. We're fluid. We work with our customers. There's no one way, I'd say. Just like when I'm asked the question, who's your ideal customer profile? There's no one person. Sometimes the board signs off. Sometimes it's a developer champion who absolutely loves us and can see how this will revolutionize their workflow. I'd say the current process is definitely trying the images yourself. Like the latest version is available. Pull it down, see whether it helps you. If you can be on that latest version. After that, we offer a free proof of value trial period. So if you want to extend the image trial to other types that are maybe not in the 55 open source catalog, we can do just that and work with you on showing you how easy it is to make, I believe it's no more than 4 lines of code changing to migrate and permanently pull down from Chainguard's repository rather than the open source equivalent or Docker or wherever else you might be going. That's normally the process. We also have this is something I've been working on with all of our partners, launched a vulnerability assessment campaign. So all we would need to know is what images you're running in your environment. I will then run a script to compare the open source security posture of those images with the Chainguard version. Nothing needs to be deployed on anyone's environment, and you can have a nice 3-pager report with that comparison, what that means for your business. And I believe that's better to circulate because there need to be multiple champions. Ultimately, that's the hardest job to shift and educate everyone on why it's better to pull down from Chainguard than an open source equivalent, because open source exists and is so powerful because it's so easy to go there, right? Just like Googling anything on the internet, we have everything available to us. But I would challenge everyone to go to Chainguard, see if the images that they're running, if we're talking just about containers, are available in our repository. And if they're not, let us know. We rebuild and are adding to that every single day. Our engineers are creating and adding new images, but I'd love to know if there are any that aren't covered, so that we make this journey as easy as possible for customers.
So it really fits into the shift left approach.
Oh, 100%. Though I will argue that it's more than a shift left, it's a start left.
Start left even.
Ideally. But you know, we're disrupting the market then. It's not in our language because no one else is starting left. Yeah.
So you said Chainguard is a young company.
Yes.
So it's like six months, you said?
Oh, I've been at the company for 6 months.
And how old is Chainguard then?
I believe it's been around for between 3 and 4 years. However, really interestingly, I'll call out the fact that our 4 co-founders are definitely people to follow. Dan, our CEO, was the creator of SigStore. So that's, for anyone who doesn't know, the validation of the person or developer who has pushed code. You have to sign it. So it's co-signed, and that's what SigStore does to validate that it's the true actor pushing that code. It's verifiable. That's very much designed into the Chainguard product. We also have Ville, one of our co-founders, who was one of the first engineers on Kubernetes himself. They all 4 co-founders worked at Google for a decade together. So they know this space better than anyone, I would argue, to know then how to advise on security on top of that. Kim, who's our head of strategy, was the creator of the Salsa framework. So really interesting, that also designed into Chainguard. And finally, Matt Moore, who is our CTO, he created Distroless and GRC, so 2 other key things. He was one of the first engineers of Knative as well.
Oh, cool.
So they know the space.
They know what they're doing, right?
Yeah. So Chainguard's young, but
but and that was my question, and was a bit bigger, because if I adopt Chainguard, Chainguard will be part of my development strategy. But if the company is young, are there financial backers behind it? And what guarantee do we have that Chainguard lives? Because we're living in dynamic, awesome world that constantly shifts. But I want to have some ground rules, good ground to stand on.
I really appreciate that reflection. Honestly, yes, 3 years old. When I joined, I think that the headcount tripled in the year that I'm here. I would hope that a few stats I can pull out now indicate that we're here to stay. We have Sequoia as one of our key investors that I know off the top of our head, and we just rate in total, I think we're nearly at 700 million of fundraising. So there is a lot of backing behind us. We've got key integrations, and part of my work also fixes on product integrations with other big security and scanning vendors. So Orca, Palo Alto, CrowdStrike, JFrog for Artifactory, Wiz. We're not gone tomorrow. These big companies wouldn't be custom building partner API integrations to recommend Chainguard as a solution to problems, I guess, that their solutions highlight in terms of CVE count if they didn't think we had a really great solution that was going to stick around. And I'm really confident that in doing that work, we will be the best source for open source rather than any of these competitors that have come about in the last couple of months to try and follow, who don't have the same 4 co-founders backing of such a deep knowledge of this area and the kind of financial backing as well. We're now at about 600 headcount globally. So there are a lot of people working behind Chainguard to make sure that we make a success for our customers.
Yeah. Okay.
So you also told us that you are looking in January the VM part is going.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how that is going to work?
Yes, I can tell you as much as I know.
Of course.
I had one short call with a product manager a couple of weeks back, and I know that VMs are still largely in development and testing, in all honesty. So I don't want to get anyone excited about any functionality that might not be supported, but they're largely extending the same capabilities as what we do for our images. So there's daily rebuilds from source from the VM hosts and making sure that they are secure. So when we rebuild them, we're making sure that there are no security infringements in any dependencies within them. And that they're of a secure posture. I believe at the moment we don't support Windows. I think it's just a Linux-based, and all of this is powered by Chainguard's own OS and our Chainguard factory, which I haven't talked about too much. What's that, sorry?
Good choice.
Not including Windows. That's what he's getting at.
Oh, we don't want to be too provocative.
Yeah, I know where he's coming from, so he tries to lure me out because I have a Windows background. That's why.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, the interesting, but if you look at the VMs, is it like from image of VMs from VMware, or is it your?
I believe it would be compatible with any VM that a customer is using, but I would need to go away and check on that one because I haven't got my hands on them yet myself.
So the customer has their VM, the hypervisor.
Yep.
And somewhere that's running the VMs.
Yep.
And you take a base image from them and scan that for vulnerabilities, or is that the way how it works? Because there's not like a repository you can download the VMs, right?
Maybe they're doing like the images, like an Ubuntu or Ubuntu with PHP or Ubuntu with Java.
LAMP.
I think you're so right there because we are not a scanner. So we're not taking what already exists and iterating over that. We're taking from source and rebuilding from scratch in a secure way. All of our bots and quality assurance tests and our lead developer team, them who run quality assurance, are making sure that what we're building is Chainguard's version. It's mirroring it.
That's a good distinction to make because
Yes.
you want to know if I have my VMs running, do I need to pull like a secure Chainguard VM, or I have my own base image and can then let it be scanned by Chainguard. That's a different kind of solutions.
Definitely the version or approach there of pulling Chainguard. That's why there is a little bit of work in migrating everything across to Chainguard, and that's why I also say start left. If you can pull down everything from Chainguard, you're doing it the right way. And
of course.
And our team will help with the migration across. Definitely, I'm working with HCS, which is our partner here in Amsterdam,
Yes.
to make sure that they're there as Kubernetes experts to help on that migration project. A lot of companies, and the work I do with AWS highlights this as well, are going through security transformation or app modernization projects. And I would argue that Chainguard fits in perfectly to that, because you've got to have a way or KPIs to measure how you're going to do that. And I would argue that no modern application should have any CVEs in it. One way to do that is to flip where you get your infrastructure from, and those images and your VMs and your libraries.
But still, for VMs, it's I know it's a new thing. It's a really difficult thing because I'm not rebuilding my VMs every 2 or 3 days.
Can't. The scale is huge. That's why in economies of scale, it's better for a solution like Chainguard to do it.
Yeah, but and CVE, 0 day,
yeah.
can come out like tomorrow.
Yep.
And if I build it today and something comes out tomorrow, I have to rebuild my VM tomorrow also.
Yes, but if you were to take a Chainguard version where we've done the rebuild, it's not on your shoulders to do that. You just inherit the version with no CVE.
No, but for VMs, for containers, also a bit. But like VMs, I'm not rebuilding my VMs every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
So that's more a difficult thing, I think.
I wonder when we get to the stage of testing this, whether there will be an easy way to prove, and I don't yet have the data to share for it because I haven't tried them as a product, to show how it's not you rebuilding your VM every day, but if there's a way that you could inherit the Chainguard updated version every day.
Yeah, but if you run an application
Yeah.
so I'm rolling out now my application, and that's a VM. And I'm putting my application on that. It doesn't matter what kind of application that is. I'm not re-rolling that VM like maybe in a year.
Mm-hmm. I understand. Well, definitely a question for our product manager as this test develops and we see how the ideal workflow is to make sure it's best integrated to not be extra toil for the team.
Because images are differently. If you got an image and you've got an application, you're deploying your pipeline, have an image, put your application on there and re-roll that. And so an image is really easy.
It could work for VMs, so it's more of a hassle.
Then you have to do a repo and if you do an Ubuntu image, you have to do an app upgrade of an app update and then pull that in. So it's because VMs.
Or you download the new secure image and do it. Have you like also?
Yeah, but then your images are cattle.
On the VM.
Your
Then
VMs are cattle, but if you use VM often, the VMs are not cattle.
No, that shouldn't be the case.
They should be cattle, but they're not often.
Often not, right? I am.
Because
True.
If
If
you use a VM, it's sometimes it's a database server with a database on there with very much a big database. I'm not re-rolling my database server every day.
It's on my shoulders then to find the way that Chainguard are doing this, because I don't believe they'd be releasing a product, I know that much, that would not be maintained and updated in line with how quickly security compromises come out. There's got to be a way that they will be adopted, and that I need to find that out. So I apologize.
And also, if I need to reboot my my pet VMware VM machine, I don't want to reboot that machine. If it's a big database, I don't want to reboot that machine.
Sometimes you need to, but you don't want to.
Yeah.
No, I've got customers who have that issue, and so I'm interested in that. How that that is going to work.
The practicality of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Without being cheeky, that might be an opening for us to speak again in 6 months' time.
Sure do.
If
course, of
anyone's
course.
interested in a deep dive into
Well, we
VM.
always have the question, how do you foresee the future? But maybe that's for the answer. Let's talk
Yeah.
about again in 6 months.
So
100%.
just for me to break it down, you're providing 0-day images.
Yep.
So if I use that in my workload, I'm pulling a new image in and then run my pipeline, put my application on there, and put that to Kubernetes or any other image provider of image runner.
Yes, as well as our language library.